for Bring Your Own Lunch. Personal stories about the business with my daddy, Dave T. Kenning.
All right, come on in, have a seat, welcome. This is the Bring Your Own Lunch podcast at BringYourOwnLunch.com, the magic of iTunes, the majesty of Stitcher, and however you found your way to download this podcast, I thank you. As you heard at the top, my name is Dave T. Koenig. I'm an actor, writer, director, producer, comedian, all-around swell dude. I have this thing where when I'm not feeling well and I'm starting to get sick, I end up having a song stuck in my head on a loop. It doesn't necessarily have to be a song that I love or even particularly know, but the chorus of that song will get stuck in my head. And lately that song has been Katy Perry's Roar. I think it's ever since the Super Bowl that's been stuck in my head. And again, I don't really know that song all that well. I know the chorus, and that's what gets stuck in my head. But the odd thing is, this time around, when I don't feel well and I feel like I'm starting to fight something off, I will hear the chorus to that song loop in my head. But when I'm starting to feel better, not only does the looping stop, I can't remember how the chorus of that song goes anymore. It's the oddest thing, and I don't know if you've ever experienced anything like it, but I think it means something. I just don't know what it is. And of course, I'm the host of the podcast you're listening to right now. BYOL is the hashtag we use. If you want to reach out to us on social media, we're out there on Facebook /BringYourOwnLunch. You can follow us on Twitter at BYOL Podcast. And if you haven't already, do it, because we have this thing called Thanks for Following Friday, and every week, if you follow us that week and you haven't been thanked already, we will thank you on Friday and give you a public shout out. So please follow us on there. You can also find us on Instagram at Bring Your Own Lunch. And there's other stuff out there. We're going to start to throw stuff up on YouTube, but that's coming soon. I'll let you know when we're ready to really do that. But it's another way for you to listen to the show is by watching it on YouTube, or really mostly listening to it on YouTube. And of course, there's our own website, Bring Your Own Lunch. You can send me a personal email, bringyourownlunch, or dave@bringyourownlunch.com. And of course, the best way you can get involved and really help the show is to go to iTunes or Stitcher and subscribe, rate, review the show, tell a friend, spread the word. Let people know what we're doing here, because it's fun and it's good stuff. And this week I've got a very special guest. Actually, all my guests are very special, but in this case, I've got somebody who I'm a huge fan of. And it's not just because I've worked with him and that he's cast me in some of his stuff, but my guest this week is writer-director Stian Hafstad, who is from Norway. And I met him, he's actually, it's the strangest thing, because he has had massive success on YouTube as a producer. He is one half of a comedy team from Norway called Pistolshrimps, and they have had massive viral hits on YouTube. And I'm talking like millions and millions of views on their videos. They have 300,000 subscribers to the Pistolshrimps channel, and they are, by any metric, a huge success if you go by YouTube. But he's a humble guy. He's a hard worker. He wants to learn more about his craft and what he's doing. So even with all that success, he is now finishing up his graduate studies at Columbia University in the film program, where he has done some amazing work. And that's where I met him. He cast me in a project for an in-class assignment, and we hit it off, and he had me perform in another one of his videos. And then ultimately what he did was he invited me to play the lead in a web series called STD Oddfjord. And it ended up being the most incredible experience of my life. I was flown over to Norway, where I was staying in a very nice hotel in a city called Bergen, Norway, which immediately became one of my favorite cities on earth. I spent 2 weeks. We shot 8 episodes of this web series, and it was amazing. The crew was fantastic. Stian and his comedy partner, Christer Larsen, we were in it together as a team. Basically the gist of the series is that I play a New York cop who gets burnt out, has a nervous breakdown, and begs to be transferred to somewhere that is calm and peaceful. And as it turns out, where I'm transferred, a small town called Oddfjord in Norway, it's the craziest town you've ever seen. So the detectives I'm paired up with are Pistolshrimps. They're playing basically themselves, but as detectives in this police department. And there's a lot of people involved in it. Great production. It was also done in coordination with a major newspaper's website in Norway. So many things were great about it. And it really opened up my eyes to a lot of stuff, and especially the beauty of Norway, which is just a stunning place. I went there in the summer, where I also benefited from a very, very long day. And he and I talk about that during the course of the interview, exactly the differences between what we're used to here in the States in terms of a winter and daylight and stuff like that, and what they are used to in Norway, which can be quite different. But the conversation I had with Stian was really, really interesting. And I'm glad I caught him, because he's this week heading out back to Norway to be part of the YouTube Awards in Norway. So it's like the Norwegian version of the YouTube Awards, and it's such a big deal there that it's on TV. And he and Pistolshrimps were nominated for Best Comedy Video and Best YouTube Channel. So to have him on now is a great time to do it. And I think you're going to really get a kick out of this guy, because he's really funny, really dry, really thoughtful guy. Super pleasant, and in typical fashion, very humble. But I think he's got a massive talent. He's just a terrific director, a fantastic writer. I think he's a very good performer, although he says he's not pursuing that in particular. But I think he is on the verge of huge success here in the States. And he has already achieved so much in Norway. So I'm really happy to have this interview for you. Want to say a quick thanks to Brett Goldstein. I recently was booked on a what they call an industrial in the business. It's a commercial that's going to be used specifically for internal business use. But my old friend Brett Goldstein, casting director extraordinaire, is the person who was running the casting, and thanks to her, I was able to go in, and I am now going to be working later this week on that project. So I just want to say a quick thanks to her. Also, before we get to the interview, I want to say thanks to Banuba.net. That's the music, that's where the music from the beginning, middle, and end of this show comes from. They are terrific. Go check them out, download some of their music, find out where they will be playing live, and get involved in the Banuba experience. And tell them Dave says hi. All right, let's get into it with Stian Hafstad, and we will get into the origin of his name. It's at the end. Usually I get that taken care of in the beginning, but it's at the end. But it's a fun conversation with a very unique guy, and a guy with a ton of talent. So sit back, relax, and check out all there is to know about a guy from Norway. A particular guy that some call Stian, some call Stian, but he calls himself Stian, I think. Here's him. Enjoy. I've been doing a lot of complaining about the snow, but to you, this is probably nothing, right?
This is summer to me. It's just beautiful.
Now, in Norway, I didn't, when I went there, I knew so little, and I'm ashamed of myself for how little I knew about Norway. Especially how much of a great experience it was for me. But in terms of winter, describe a Norwegian winter.
A Norwegian winter is like 5 hours of daylight. The rest is dark, cold, and miserable. So, you get drunk and just stay inside.
How much snow typically do you guys get? Like if you were to go there right now.
Right now, it depends on where you go. If you go north, you get a lot of snow. If you go where I'm from, you just get rain and puddles and mushy.
So you don't get snow in your area?
Well, we do, but mostly rain, actually.
Oh, that's funny. Again, it's like I am renewed in my embarrassment of my lack of knowledge about your homeland.
Well, I blame Frozen, Just paint
it's been
this
a big
picture.
Year for you, hasn't it?
It's nothing like that. Don't go to Norway.
There are no girls running around in complicated relationships.
Oh, there are. Trust me. So many.
Now, the fun thing about this podcast for me is I get to finally learn a lot about people in depth who I've known for a while. And you and I have known each other for a few years. I don't remember what year we met.
Yeah, I think it's like 4 years or 3 years.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easily could have been 4 years. I think it predates my second child. I think. I don't know. But because things happen. And in the process of working with you and we've worked on a few projects now, I've got a sense of who you are as an artist, but I mean, as far as your background and all that stuff goes, I don't necessarily have as much of an idea as I'd like. So where in Norway did you grow up?
I grew up in a place called Oddfjord, which is a small town, 10,000 people on the west coast of Norway, by the fjords and the mountains. So I grew up on a farm there, pretty much in the middle of nowhere with nothing to do. And so, just to end up dreaming a lot, daydreaming a lot, and coming up with stories and ideas. And that's basically how I got into storytelling, was just being alone a lot, coming up with worlds and ideas.
Did you have brothers and sisters, or?
I have an older brother, he's 1 year older, and a sister who's 3 years younger.
Okay, so did the three of you kind of team up to do stuff? I imagine if the house was empty otherwise, or there weren't a lot of other people around. Yeah,
especially me and my brother, since he's 1 year older, so we used to play a lot together and argue a lot together, like brothers do.
What would be a typical young child Norwegian argument on a farm?
It would be, we used to play around with toy guns, of course, so it's the same.
So it's like you do that in Norway. It's not just an American thing where you shoot each other a lot.
Yeah. It's like, this is exciting. So we would argue with I shot you, and he would be like, no, dodged it. It's like, right. You can't dodge it. It's a bullet. Yeah. No, I dodged it. So a lot of arguments like that.
You guys were the Matrix before the Matrix was the Matrix.
Precisely.
Yeah. So give me a sense of okay, there weren't a lot of other kids around because you were in the middle of nowhere. Like what kind of school experience did you have then? I mean, how many kids were in your school?
Well, I guess it's about 80 kids in total. And so in my grade, it was 20. So it's not that few, but yeah, it's definitely, this sort of environment where everyone doesn't know everyone, but everyone knows who everyone is. Yeah,
well, I can imagine. Yeah, mm-hmm. I mean, in all grades. I mean, there were kids and I didn't go to a typically large high school or anything like that. But there were still some kids I kind of only just sort of knew. But that was with 150 kids in my graduating class. But you had 80 kids in the whole school, right? Mm.
Yeah, but once I got to high school, our high school was pretty big, because people come in from all the small towns around further to go there to high school. So the high school was a pretty decent size.
Yeah. And what access did you have to entertainment? I mean, what were you remote and did you have cable or stuff like that?
Absolutely none. In Norway, this is actually totally true right here. In Norway, up until the early 90s, there was one television channel. And I remember we got the second one, and then we had 2 television channels, and that was most of the 90s, And then, so it was basically you watch whatever is on. You have to watch it because you have no alternatives.
Wow.
And you have a VHS player, but you have a limited amount of VHS. And I think that's where it comes from for me. I don't watch a lot of movies, but the ones I like, I keep rewatching them.
Because that's what you did when you were a kid?
Yeah, precisely. Wow. You had these VHS tapes that you watched 40 times, Original Mission Impossible. It's not a very good movie, but it's one of my favorites because I watched it over and over and over and over because I had no options. And
so what's really interesting is that looking ahead a bunch of years, you've spent a good deal of your time inserting yourself into movies.
Yeah, precisely.
Is that as obvious a connection as it seems?
Well, yeah, maybe. I think that is just something about wanting to play around with the medium more than it is wanting to rewatch stuff, or be in it. I had never had a dream of becoming an actor. For example, that's just an accident that happened because we couldn't get any actors to be in it. But yeah, it's just this feeling of wow, I want to play around with this.
Mm. When did you first get to maybe start making your own stuff? I mean, what was your first exposure to any kind of camera?
Oh wow, I didn't get a camera until late, but we did have a family computer. So when I was 12, 13, I started doing animations.
Okay.
In the good old Paint Shop Pro and Animation Shop, if you remember those. And basically it was South Mm-hmm. South Park had just come out and it was oh my God, this is so funny. And it was on
one of the 2 channels.
No, you had to get it from someone who knew someone who had it.
It was a trading. You had to know a guy.
And then after a while, we got the internet with Napster, and there you could download. It took 2 days to download video, but
from your perspective, I mean, you because we grew up in America being surrounded by pop culture, and we have this assumption that we started everything. So it was so ingrained in us to be like, okay, I know what that is. And then once finally everything was made available to us at all times, it was easy to just kind of go back in the catalog of your own mind and just fill in the blanks that you missed. But for you didn't really have exposure to all that much stuff. So when the internet opened up for you, I mean, for us, it was amazing because we were able to see things that we knew about, but we never actually got to experience. But you didn't even get to hear about it until maybe the internet.
Well, both yes and no. Like, I didn't get to watch a lot of stuff, but I always knew of its existence.
Where would you learn about stuff?
You read like newspapers, like celebrity magazines, whatever. So you know about it, and you know that there are these other popular shows, that you're not watching, and they look very exciting, but you can't get your hands on them. So
it did sort of fill in the blanks in a similar way to how it did for us.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think so.
What was your opinion of the United States when you were growing up? That's I can only imagine. Actually,
American culture is big in Norway. Is the number one cultural import. And on television, it's I think 60% or so of the programming is American TV shows. So all the big ones make it over to Norway. So you have this idea, of America being this kind of huge, amazing place, where these things get created. And so I think in Norway, American culture is very popular, and we have this, we like to riff on America, but there is definitely this love there. For
what
American
are some
culture.
of the things that are sort of, when we look at other cultures, and I'll just use this as an example, and it's a terribly unfair example, but when you think of Irish, immediately you're thinking of somebody with a brogue and a leprechaun and a shillelagh. So what would be the leprechaun and the brogue and the shillelagh of an American to a Norwegian?
Oh, let's do this. Number one is loud. Americans are so loud. You can hear them from 2 miles away, the tourists in Norway. So that one turned out to be true. I just think Americans
we're loud, yeah.
Yeah, and just loud and more straightforward. And for good and for bad, very good at small talk,
Okay, yeah.
Norwegians are way more quiet and reserved, and you're allowed to have silent pauses in a conversation. In America, you don't have that. If there's a gap, someone fills it with something to say.
That is true, especially depending on what area of the country you're from, but that's definitely a thing. We hate silence. We don't want anything to be silent ever.
Should we try to be silent?
Makes for a terrible podcast, but it was very refreshing to me.
It was kind of nice.
Yeah, it was a very Norwegian moment for us right there.
And also, of course, one of the big stereotypes is that all Americans are fat, just super fat. And then I came to New York, and there are hardly any fat people here.
Yeah, this is a bad place to find that stereotypical couch potato.
Oh yeah,
because you have to move here. You can't just drive or scooter everywhere. You have to actually get to a subway, and then
Oh yeah, definitely.
People are pretty well in shape in New York City, but you go an hour outside the city, you're going to see the people you probably imagined in your head when you were growing up. So you went, you had your high school experience. Well, I don't know how well you know the American high school experience, but how would you describe your high school experience? And I'm curious if that matches at all what we typically go through.
I think it's very boring, I would say.
Yeah.
Very. I think it's pretty much the same in every country. You have popular cliques and not so popular cliques, and everyone just want to just get through it without too much hassle. And I don't know, it was pretty alright. I just remember it as kind of dull and boring, actually. What kind
of activities did you get involved in?
I played soccer, for a long time, or football, as we like to call it.
Yeah, because you guys call it wrong.
Of course. But I quit that when I was 15, and then I don't know, I started making animations and stuff and doing that instead, and just beach volleyball for some reason is huge in my town, which is weird because there's hardly any summer.
And how many beaches are there?
None, but they. That's a funny bit because they build beach volleyball courts all over. I think we have 10 at least in my town, a town of 10,000 people. It's bizarre, but it's fun.
Yeah, but what's interesting is you said you have no summer. Now, when I went there to work with you, it was summer.
Yeah.
And you may not have a long summer, but what you get out of summer is far more than we get out of summer because the sun is out most of the time.
Yeah, that's true. I was kind of lying. I was trying to riff a bit on.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just denied you. That sounds bad. I'm a bad improviser.
No, Norway is Norway in summer. It's probably one of the most beautiful places I've been. I might be a bit biased.
No, you're right. There. No, I will back you up 1,000%. It's one of the nicest places I've ever seen in my life.
And it's like, I said earlier that in winter it's like 20 hours of darkness. In summer it's the opposite. So you get so much. It was
fascinating.
Yeah, you get so much energy. Everyone's so happy, and yeah, it's just super nice.
I saw Norway probably at its best, where everybody was so content. And so everybody was so happy and everybody was out all the time. And I think, you put a typical American in that scenario, and I was a typical American in that scenario, but I was there for a short amount of time. But I think if you put your typical American there, they're still going to find ways to stay inside for too much of that. That's my guess.
Well, yeah, maybe. But so do we Norwegian, We like to claim that we're outside all the time.
You guys were outside all the time.
I don't know.
Well, the crew and the rest of the cast kind of disappeared while I just kind of went back to my hotel. And so I have no idea what you actually did. But it seemed to me like everybody was out all the time. And I was walking around going, it was amazing. It was 10 o'clock at night. And it felt like it was 4:30 in the afternoon because the sun was out. And it just was like I was in a twilight zone. But it was in a great way. It was really fascinating.
Yeah, it is pretty great. And it just gives you so much energy to just do stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I walked more than I've walked in the last 10 years when I was in Norway. But I don't know if that says more about me than Norway. So you had your typical high school experience. You were doing some of the animation. Did you do anything with that animation? Did you put it up anywhere? Did you show it to anybody?
Yeah, I sent, just the friends and stuff. They were really bad, though. It's like I regret just sending it out. I wish you could just delete that from your history. But
you got to do that stuff. You got to do the bad stuff to get to the good stuff.
Definitely. You just got to keep doing bad stuff. And after a while, you suddenly realize, whoa, this is not so bad anymore.
Right. It's like the 10,000 hours principle.
Yeah, precisely.
You do something enough, you're gonna get good at it on some level. Now, from high school, where did you go? And the typical track of Norwegian education is still the same. Like you go to elementary school, or what we call them. I don't know what you call it there. Maybe primary school. Is that
something like that?
Something. They never taught us that stuff. I was absent that day. So you, and then you go to high school, and then you go on to university of some sort, right? Is that typical, or?
Well, sort of. Usually after high school, like for the guys, a lot of guys go in the military for a year.
Okay.
Because you got drafted, but I didn't get that. They've changed it a lot in the last.
How did you avoid that?
Basically, because I got into a school.
Okay.
So I was saying, like, I'm taking my education, and they're like, okay, we'll call you in when you're done, and that just never happened.
It just never happened.
And then I got a letter like 10 years later saying, like, you're no longer needed.
Wow. You became irrelevant.
Yeah, precisely. Like, we don't want you.
10 years after graduation from high school, you are no longer useful to the Norwegian army.
Precisely.
So I remember talking to a few people who had gone through the military, though. Mm-hmm. And it's just sort of an expected thing, right?
Yeah, precisely. It's like one of the ways I think you just learn how to be a bit more independent before they send you out into the real world. I guess.
Yeah. I mean, do you feel that you missed that, or do you have regrets?
I'm really bad at taking care of myself. No, yes and no. I think it would have made me a lot more of a firm person earlier. It's sort of the same effect that New York has on you. You become more you just learn to stand up for yourself in a way that you wouldn't in any place else, because the city is so straightforward and direct. So I guess maybe I would have gotten that earlier, but no, I don't regret it at all.
All right, well, good. I mean, I don't regret not being in the army. I'll tell you that much. So you went to university. Where
no, actually, I went because another thing you do in Norway. This is a strictly Norwegian thing, but basically, a lot of people go to something called folkehøyskole, which is sort of like, it means like people's like school, or like
doesn't quite have a correct direct translation.
Yeah, basically it's a boarding school where you study something like a hobby for a year.
Wow.
And it's like taking a year off. So I did that, and I studied animations. I just made animations for a year.
And it was just like that's what you focused on for an entire year.
Yeah, precisely.
It's really valuable.
It is. And part of it, why it's so valuable, is that you live sort of by yourself for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
But in a boarding school scenario, and you just bond so much with the people there. So usually the people who do it say it's the best year of their life, usually. Up until that point.
It sounds like the kind of thing that more people who are 18 years old should be doing.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I think for me, that was super valuable.
I wish they had that here.
And I, made a lot of great friends that I still talk to. And it was just like a nice way of bridging that experience from living at home to like going to university in a different city.
Yeah, I mean, those are the kind of life experiences that are, increasingly tougher for somebody who's 18. I know when I was 18, I wasn't capable of like tying my own shoes in a lot of ways. So like to have the experience of sort of like almost like a halfway house, would have been really cool.
Yeah, super helpful.
Yeah, and again, it's like something here that we definitely could be providing people, but we don't. Was that part of the government pays for your education? Is that something that they'll pick up the tab on, or? Well,
sort of. You get they help you with part of it, like 40-50%, and the rest is like student loans. So it does cost, but I don't know. I think it's here comes the difference between the Norwegian and the American attitude. But I think there are certain things that are like worth spending for the government to spend that kind of money on.
I totally agree with that.
In terms of society, I think there is a benefit there, but let's not go into.
We can go into. Why not? I'll be perfectly honest with you. I'm like, it didn't necessarily change my mind, but being in Norway and seeing how people felt about where they lived and seeing that they were willing to pay higher taxes, but enjoy a lot of the things that they were getting for those taxes, really firmed up what I kind of think is sort of what's wrong with what goes on here. And I don't want to get too political about it, but, just the idea that sure, you guys pay more money for your stuff, but your satisfaction with life is so much higher, and it was so much cleaner, and so much more, you guys benefited so much from the education and
I think it's also just a different mindset. There's a classic saying when they started, because in Norway they found oil in the Northern Sea in the 70s, and that's how that does really help. That's how we got rich. But basically, they hired American companies to start help drilling, because Americans had the experience. And there's this famous quote, because they very soon got in a clinch between the Norwegian workers and the American companies, and this American CEO or leader, he's so angry, and he said, in America, we live to work, but in Norway, they seem to work to live.
Yeah.
And he just didn't get that difference in attitude, Oh,
I think I totally get. And again, it was like, one thing that I noticed when we worked there is that we put in a really solid, hard day's work, but it didn't start at like 6 a.m. and we weren't going until 2 a.m. You guys knew how to stop at 6 o'clock or whatever time we stopped. And everybody was totally cool with that. And we got a lot done.
Yeah, we got a lot done. But yeah, I think that's the difference, and that is what makes America both the best and the worst in a way.
True.
Because America is great. I talk a lot of shit about America, but America is great. There's a reason I'm here,
Well, because you're an adopted American, and that entitles you to talk a lot of trash about your newly adopted, the place to live.
But yeah, I just think there is something about that American mentality of like wanting to win, wanting to be the best, and just putting in the hours to do so, for good and for bad.
Yeah, I guess I'm more of a life work balance kind of guy, so it fit my attitude perfectly, because it was like 6 o'clock, we're all going home, and it's not like 3 people stayed and you're thinking, oh, maybe I should stay. It was like everybody just went home, and it was beautiful. I was so happy to live under that sort of schedule, that it made up for all the whatever the difficulties it might have been getting there or whatever. I mean, it wasn't really that difficult to fly there, but it was like whatever creature comforts I didn't have, I at least knew that it wasn't like I was going to be there working 18-hour days, and nobody was working 18-hour days, which is great.
We do that sometimes too,
Oh, stop trying to be American.
End of the day, you want to get your movie, so that's...
Well, of course. I mean,
people, please, 6 more hours.
Just stay a little bit. Can't you just stay a little bit? Now, are there laws that also like dictate when you have to quit, or is that something I thought I heard?
Oh, yes, there is.
So what's the law there?
I don't know. You got to ask the producer. I'm the director, so I'm just like, I want more hours. Stuff. Yeah.
Oh, way to pass the buck there. You're getting more American every day. So where? Okay, well, you went through that 1 year boarding house type situation, and then you went to university.
Yes, then I decided it's time to grow up. I'm going to go to university. I'm going to study social economics.
Oh, for real? That's what
For
you
real. I did that for a year, yeah.
What did you learn in social economics?
I learned the one thing I remember is the principle of sunk costs, which I use all the time in life. Basically, it says that just because you've invested a lot of money into something doesn't mean you should keep investing a lot of money into something. And the money you've already put in, it's like sunk costs. You won't get it back,
right?
No matter how much more you put into it. So at a certain point, you should just cut your costs and leave. You can say that about, screenplays, about relationships.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be monetary.
No, precisely not. So that is the one thing I took from it that I think was really good advice. Other than that, I don't remember too much.
Yeah, well, I mean, is it the idea? I mean, were they teaching you basic socialism? Is that the idea, or is that
no? It's basically
economics of social interaction.
Mostly macroeconomics.
Oh, okay, all right. So
like the government budget. How do you say? I'm blanking here. The dollar, the kroner, and how they're affected by shifts in the economy and
global currency stuff.
Yeah, precisely, all that stuff.
Okay, so it's not social is not necessarily socialism, but
no, not at all. Basically, it was a lot of free market stuff.
All right, so you guys were learning, how the rest of the world does things, whether or not we're any good at it. You still had to learn it. So what did you think you were going to become when you decided to go that track?
An adult.
And that was it? You had no career thought about what that would end up preparing you for?
No, I would probably, work in the public sector somehow. I don't know. I just always found that very interesting, and how it's all connected.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge nerd. I like mathematics. I think it was one of my favorite subjects in school, and that's heavily involved in it. So I just found that an interesting thing to study. And I was very good at it. I got really good grades. But then I realized I was spending my time, making these animations and small movies anyway. I was like, well, if I can be good at this social economics thing, then why can't I be good at making movies? I at least got to give it a go. And so I switched to film and television production.
In Norway, in the U.S., we have, you want to be a doctor, you want to be a lawyer, you want to be an accountant even. But what was the reaction, or what is the typical feeling about somebody who kind of goes against the idea of doing something like an economics major to going into an art? Is it embraced? Is it looked down on? What's the overall?
Overall, people don't really care that much. Like I told my parents, and they were like, "Oh, that's good. You got to do what you want." So you
had a lot of support. Yeah.
No big discussion. Just very much
that's what it is. Well, good for them.
So my great grand aunt, she wants a doctor in the family, so she was a bit disappointed. I tried to tell her you won't become a doctor by doing social economics, but I wasn't on the track to being a doctor anyway. But
you could be the doctor of economics.
Precisely. Well, if you get a PhD, then you're sort of a doctor, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you can't solve for bursitis, but you can definitely put the DR in front of your name.
Precisely, and that's the important thing.
Yeah, and why not? Because titles are everything in this world.
Yeah, bragging rights. That's what you want.
And where did you go to school?
The
University
of Bergen.
That's the one where we did a lot of work when we were doing the Oddfjord thing. We spent a day there, right?
Yeah, at the museum. Yeah, that's connected to the university.
Yeah, but wait, wasn't that big boiler room scene?
Oh, yeah. That's the mathematics department.
That's the mathematics department. If you, and I'm going to put up the playlist of Oddfjord on
do that
when we do this episode. And if you look at it, it's like the last thing you'd think of when you look at this boiler room scene is this is math. It was a brilliant location, and
it's so good. Yeah, I've used it 3 or 4 times. I think
it's so cool.
It's so good,
it's perfectly lit. I mean, you had to do a little bit of lighting, but I mean, it just naturally looks like a dank cave of hell.
It does, and it's free.
Usually. Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
Well, I don't want to. I still kind of want to find out your track, but one thing I remember talking to you and maybe somebody else about was the fact that locations in Norway, coming by locations is a lot different than coming by locations here in the U.S., right? Because tell me what you told me.
Well, I guess it depends on where you are in the U.S. If you're in New York City, everything costs money because everyone knows that what they have has a value, and so they want money for it.
Right.
But if you go out to like smaller towns, people get more excited.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh my God, you're shooting a movie? That is so cool.
Right, right.
Like, please shoot at my shop. It's really cool.
Yeah. But you still have to ask. Like, you still have to like, I'm trying to not necessarily give the answer away, but we went to this field. I remember shooting in a field, and it was somebody's property, but there's something that, like, in the US, you'd have to get permission, you might have to get a permit, you might have to this, and there'd be a lot of process involved in choosing that location and then using it. But in Norway, what did you have to do to be able to use that location?
You just knocked on the door and just say, hey, dude, can we shoot in your field? And he's like, oh, okay, that's exciting. Yeah, go ahead.
No, would he have a right to say no, though?
Yes.
Okay.
If it's like private property, yeah.
But if you wanted to camp on his land, is that something different? Maybe I'm remembering the conversation wrong.
Well, I think you're thinking about there's like basically this law saying that you can't own a mountain, and if it's if you want to get to the mountain, you're allowed to cross people's fields.
Okay.
As long as you go by the fence and you don't ruin anything.
Right.
But if it's a field where they grow stuff, you can't camp in the middle of the field.
Oh, okay. All right. So there's this. It made it seem so simple where it's like, yeah, well, nobody owns anything. Like nobody.
Yeah, we like to exaggerate a little bit just to make it seem cool. Yeah.
So here I've had this idyllic thought in my head about Norway and how everyone just is cool with everybody else, just hanging out. It seems so like communal that I wanted to believe it, and I'm finding out now.
Yeah, we just wanted to try to get you to be yelled at or something. Like, oh, Dave, you just walk out into that field. It's totally cool.
And I did feel at some points that this whole thing was a big setup anyway. So it would have fit very much into my whole paranoia about the experience anyway. But we'll get into that. I want to get into that. So it was at University of Bergen when you finally got into film TV. What did you... I mean, did you know right away that, hey, this is it. This is what I'm going to be doing?
Well, not really. But, you just start making stuff and... things start happening, and after a while you realize, yeah, I'm definitely on the right track here.
Yeah. And you met a bunch of people who you're doing a lot with, and that's where you met Christer?
Yeah, that's where I met Christer, who I do the Pistolshrimps stuff with. We met there. He was a year below me in the same study, and, we were at this party, and I mentioned to him, like, hey, I always wanted to edit myself into Harry Potter. I think he could be really funny. And he says, yeah, me too. I even have costumes. So we were like, okay.
He already had the idea in his head also.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's super crazy. And he had the costumes. He had bought the robes. We were like, okay, let's just do it. So we found that blue screen studio and we just started shooting. And then, bam, 8 months later, we had the first video ready.
So it only took 8 months.
Only 8 months.
You took the slow, steady route.
Yeah, we had no idea what we were doing, so we had to learn all the software.
Yeah.
And
plus all those pauses in the conversation add up.
Oh, yeah. So true. 2 days of pause. No, but also we were shooting on, this was back with the DV tapes.
Oh,
so it was
God.
Interlaced, and keying with that was horrible.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, but,
You came with your first one. And what year were you in school when you guys started, when you finally had that first one done?
I think my second year, And
it was a 4-year program or
3-year?
3-year program.
Second, I think.
And then, so you guys put that up on YouTube. How long before you got a good response to it?
Well, I remember we got it in on iambored.com.
Okay.
So we got 6,000 views in a day. Which
sounds like a lot. I mean, for anybody would be thrilling.
It was pretty cool because we had no fans. It was our first video, so it was the first thing we did. So that was pretty exciting. But I had a few months prior done, I don't know if you've seen it, but I did a mashup or Bert and Ernie and MOP.
Oh, yeah.
It's this gangster rap thing. And that went viral. I got 1 million views very quickly. It was pretty fun and exciting.
What do you think did put you over the top in terms of because viral videos are very hard to plan. You can't assume that anything's going to go viral, and usually it's just one little trigger that sends it off into kind of stratospheric numbers, 1 million views. Was there something that did it, or how long did it take to go from 0 to 1 million?
With that one, it was really quick. It was back then, things moved a lot slower.
Yeah,
online.
yeah, especially then.
So it was like 2 weeks, I think, for it to hit the million. But yeah, once it started going, my whole inbox was just full of, because that's when YouTube sent you emails for every click and comment.
Oh, man.
It's just like my inbox was drowning.
That's all you had, yeah.
So it was pretty exciting. And, people in my, the leader of my program at the university, he was like, you can't do this. You're going to get sued for infringing on copyright. So it was just like scary, I was so afraid I would get a phone call saying, you've been sued for $10 million.
Yeah, because you were using copyrighted music and you were using copyrighted video. I mean, and that's what a lot of what you do is that.
Yep.
So, I mean, what kind of problems have you run into as far as using that kind of copyrighted material?
In terms of being sued or being like yelled at, surprisingly little,
Does it fall into the idea that you're just using it artistically in a new way, or? Well,
basically, in the copyright law, there's something called fair use, which is basically states that if you use something for educational purposes or for parody, which we claim to be doing parody, then you might be allowed to use copyrighted material, but you have to judge it on a case-by-case basis. Yeah, it's basically the dumbed-down version of it.
Yeah.
And so for us, we've always claimed, this is parody, and this is how like media should be allowed to be used, because now we're in a culture where you no longer just watch stuff passively, you take it and you recreate it, and people do it all the time, like with Harry Potter or Twilight, you have like teenage girls.
Yeah. Or even rap music in and of itself.
Yeah, precisely.
Outside of the money issue, it is reusing things in an interesting new way.
Yeah, precisely. And culture shouldn't be about like one-way flow. It should be interacting with the material and creating something new out of it. It does create a lot of like questions about who's entitled to whatever money comes along.
Right. And you guys haven't been monetizing your videos, or you can't monetize those videos.
Well, we can now, but we couldn't for a long, long time. So
wow.
We were in a meeting with YouTube, and our guy there at YouTube, he was like, well, here's how much money you missed out on this video. A lot of money. It's like, oh.
How do you deal with that? I mean, because you got 1 million views on that first one you ever did, and that's not the only 1 million view video you've gotten.
Yeah, but for us, it's not that painful in a way, because we always we started doing this because it was fun, and we were doing it. We were never thinking about money in terms of it, and so
not very American of you.
Yeah, but for us, like the experience of getting like 20 million views on the Titanic video was way more fun than that potential amount would have given us in a way.
Is the Titanic video the one that has gotten the most views?
No, right now I think it's the one called Trolling Saruman.
Oh, okay, yeah, I've seen that one too.
Singing the Trollolo song, for those who know it.
Which was a thing of its own time. And
yeah.
So you caught it right at the height of its...
Yeah, we just got in on that meme just at the precisely right moment.
And how many views on that one?
22 million?
22 million views. Yeah, psychologically... How does that affect what you do? Like, I mean, I think the most views I've ever gotten on a video was like 300,000, and it's my daughter singing guitar. And I don't even feel like I earned anything on that. Like I didn't earn those views. It just kind of happened. But you put stuff together and you throw it up on YouTube, and 22 million times it's been viewed. How do you feel about that?
Well, it is kind of crazy, but the thing is, the first one will always be the biggest impact. And it was like the Bert and Ernie video that just went viral kind of out of nowhere. So it was like, wow, how does this even work? This is exciting. But then after that with Pistolshrimps, what happened was that, we had a very slow, steady growth. And then we had one video that reached 100,000. It's like, oh, that's exciting. Then we had one that reached 200,000. So it didn't really happen overnight. It was just slow, steady work. And so after a while, those numbers, they just become like new highs you try to reach. Okay. So it's not that big of a deal anymore. It's still very fun when it happens.
Sure.
There never was for us like this moment where like, oh, success overnight,
Right. Although, I mean, with that first one, did it kind of freak you out?
Well, yeah, it was pretty weird.
and being in a university setting, and you're in one now, even still, as somebody who has had some tremendously successful videos in today's day and age, that's about as successful as having, that's about as good a measure of success as anybody can hope to get these days, is having a viral hit or have something that's been seen 22 million times. There are TV shows that would, kill for 22 million viewers. What do your peers think of all this stuff?
They think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, they're not jealous or resentful or anything.
I think most, some people are, of course, a little bit jealous, but I think most people I encountered, they just think it's very cool. And they think it's, that's fun, that you're doing something in that vein and you're having success with it. Very, very happy for you. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't noticed a lot of jealousy, actually.
That's great. I mean, considering the environment you're in, and you're right now at Columbia because you went from Bergen. What was the transition going from Bergen University to eventually coming here to Columbia? What triggered that?
Well, basically, it's I was sitting watching TV in the flat in Bergen, and
were you up to 5 channels by then?
Oh, by then we had like 20 channels. So
oh man, you were drowning in them.
Yeah, I was like, what can I even do? I think I was watching TV Shop. I have a tendency to do that because you're like, oh, this mop. Can it do that? Can it get that stain out?
Wait, TV Shop? Oh, you mean like infomercials?
Yeah, precisely.
Oh, all right,
my
okay.
Favorite. No, but I was watching TV. And I suddenly had this feeling like I'm sitting here on this couch watching TV. I've done this before. I'm hanging out every weekend with the same people, going to the same places, talking about the same things. I've done this before. I need something new and exciting in my life. And then I tried to figure out like, where could I go? What do I want to do? And I wanted to get more education on storytelling. So I just looked up like the different film schools, and I found that Columbia and USC was right profile for me. So I applied, and I was lucky enough to get in, and I was lucky enough to get scholarship from Columbia. So then I was like, then the decision was easy, because it's so expensive.
What got you the scholarship? I mean, were they looking at the stuff like the YouTube, or were they?
Yeah, I think that was part of it. I submitted my thesis film from the University of Bergen, but I think the main reason was, I think that's the trick. When I was in my interview with Columbia over the phone, I had already gotten the acceptance from USC. And so I just asked Columbia, like, when do you think you'll get back to me? And they're like, why are you asking? And I was like, well, I got to be honest, I got into USC and I'm wondering if I should go there. And then like 2 days later, they sent me the offer of the scholarship.
Wow.
And it was like, oh, I'll take it. Thank you. Wow.
So you got recruited the way some basketball players got recruited.
Oh, maybe. It was just kind of like being a little bit naive, and just like, because I had no intention. I didn't think that would give
You weren't
me
playing
information.
hardball. You were just asking for info, or were you?
Yeah, I was asking for info. Like, I seriously just wanted to know. I didn't know that was how it works. I'm from a small town in Norway, very naive. I didn't think scholarship works that way, but apparently they do.
Here in the U.S., everything is money, man. Because if they can land Stian Hafstad from Norway, that's like Indiana University's basketball program landing the top high school basketball player in the country.
Yes, I like to think so. Definitely.
How would you compare the education, the film school education at Columbia? And it's a graduate program, so it's kind of like apples and oranges a little bit. But how would you compare what you're learning now to what you learned in Norway? It's
like night and day.
Really?
In Norway, it was an all right program, but you didn't learn that much. You didn't have that many obligations. It just feels like grad school in America, especially like Columbia, is like they drive you into the ground with the amount of work you have to do, and the level of what you learn is really high. So I felt it's like two completely different worlds.
What would be some of what is an outstanding example for you of like the rigors of what you're doing?
What does rigors mean?
It's an American term. I mean, like, give me an example of like that hard, like how they're driving you like really, really hard with the work. What? Give an example of that.
It's basically, because you take all these classes, like directing classes and writing class, and it's workshop classes. So you're 12 people, and so every week someone has to like deliver material, and you get critique and pretty rough critique, and then you have to go and change it. And since you take so many classes, you constantly on a deadline, And with stuff that is not mathematics, where you have like one simple solution, well, not simple, but one solution. With stuff like this, you will always keep pressuring yourself to keep working on it to make it better. And so you find yourself, just like 12, 14-hour days, just working on stuff constantly on deadline. And there's like no break in the summer because you have to go shoot your movie. And it's just, I was pretty overworked at a certain point, but
And there's no time limit on this kind of program. It just
there is between 3 and 5 years. So you have to do at least 3 and a maximum of 5. I'm doing all 5 for a bunch of reasons. Mainly because we were doing those series in Norway, so that took up a lot of time, and also just because then I get the visa for all 5 years, which is great. Ultimately,
do you want to be able to stay here?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Now you still, while you're here, are working with everybody in Norway occasionally. How often do you go back?
I go back quite a bit, 3-4 times a year.
Have you gotten used to the trip?
No. Well, yes, I kind of hate it. It's just very boring,
It's a long time on the plane.
Yeah, it is. And, you get jet lagged and it's annoying. I'm going back now in 2 days, actually. Mm-hmm. We got nominated for 2 awards at the Norwegian YouTube Awards, the first annual, I think. So
that's like they started a national version of the YouTube Awards. So it's open only to Norwegian.
Yeah, only Norwegian channels. So I'm going back for that.
What did you get nominated for?
Funniest channel and I think best video.
Wow. Which video?
It came out 3 weeks ago. It's called Harry Potter and the Magic Show.
Feels like it was thrown together last week. They're like, yeah, we're going to do an awards. You want to come out?
Yeah, that's the feeling I got too. No, I think it's because the way you could get nominated is by people voting. And so that video, when they opened the nominations or that you could vote, that video had just come out. And at the end of it, we put like, hey guys, vote for us. And so apparently a lot of our fans voted for that video.
That call to action. When you say our fans, how many people would you count as your fans, you think?
Like the number we have on YouTube is like 360,000
subscribers to your channel.
Yeah, but like fans, I would say around 40,000 that watch all our videos and like comment, and not they don't all comment, but like out of those, like a lot of them comment and are like that hardcore base,
Yeah, is that a guesstimate, or is that based on any kind of metrics, or? That
is just a guesstimate based on the amount of views we get on like all videos and how many comments we get, and just
right.
Basically a guesstimate.
Would you want people over there who you do a lot of the Pistolshrimp stuff with to come over here eventually? I mean, is that something you want to have happen, or do you want to continue to go back and live sort of that dual existence?
Well, that totally depends. Like my goal is not to make YouTube forever. I'll do it as long as it's fun and as a stepping stone, most likely to something else. I want to do more like long form narrative, either movies or TV shows or web series that are longer. And so I find sketch comedy to be super fun, and it's something I would love to do occasionally, but I don't think I would want to make the rest of my career, making YouTube videos.
Right. Sure.
And so we'll see, like if, the people back home want to be part of that journey to something else, and they should definitely come over. But if, they also have their dreams, and they want to do back home. So, we might part ways at some point, or we might end up working together forever.
You can't predict the future.
Yeah, precisely.
Even here in America. Now, I'm grateful that I got to be part of, I guess, sort of, a step in your progression towards doing more narrative stuff, which is it was a web series called SDD Oddfjord. That spawned from a smaller 2-episode web series you did?
Well, it wasn't a web series. Basically, we shot a bunch of videos one summer, and some of them were like 2 CSI spoofs. Or basically, if you have CSI in a small town, what would happen? And, you would imagine nothing to happen, but if it's a small town where just everything happens all the time, and it's like loads of crime. And so then we were invited to go pitch at this Norwegian website, and that was one of the ideas that we just threw out there. And it was kind of like we didn't really want to do it. But you're just like, oh, we only have 2 ideas. Like we should toss on another one. Oh, let's do that.
Oh, that's funny.
And they, of course, this is what always happens when you pitch something. The thing you like the least is the stuff they like the most. And so, it's not that we weren't excited about it. It was it was our least favorite of the ideas we had. And so that one got picked, and we just started working on it, and it was super fun.
What was the development process? Because I came into it obviously kind of down the line, but how long did you develop that idea and work on the scripts and stuff?
For a few months. It wasn't very long, because it's a very short series.
Yeah.
And so we just had like this list of things we sort of wanted to spoof. And so we just tried to make that into a narrative series. And, the cliche is like the cop who comes somewhere to a new place and he doesn't want to be there. But by the end of it, he's like, oh, I love this place now.
Yeah.
So we just wanted to do sort of a parody on that trope and just.
Yeah. And what was interesting is that even because I was in it. I mean, I was very involved in it and very grateful to be involved. And I will say that until the day I die, that it was just an honor to be asked to go over to Norway and do that. But I wasn't even aware of sort of like the cycle that each episode went through, where it was like you had that through line of the guy who was there and didn't want to be there, and that carried over. But then within each individual episode, there was very specific things you were parodying. Each individual episode was kind of vastly different from the one before and after. So where did some of those ideas come from?
I was just like, after a while, watching all these crime shows, you just build up because some of them are really good, and that's why the genre is so popular. But some of them are just horribly bad. And you just go like, oh, that is so stupid. Oh, that is so stupid. And you just take all these ideas of like things you think are really stupid. And then you just try to find something based off of that is funny.
Which one do you think is would be an example of something you think is really stupid?
Let's see. Oh, I was watching. No, I shouldn't say this. I shouldn't say
I don't want you to shoot yourself in the foot because they might call tomorrow and be like, "Can you direct an episode of that?"
I'm going to be honest. Say if they did that, I would say yes.
Yeah, of course you would. Of course you would.
Asked.
Yeah, you're not stupid.
I hate the show, but I.
So let's forget about asking you to throw yourself under the bus. But what was that experience like for you? Because I know how it was for me. But how was shooting that series for you?
Oh, it was super stressful.
Yeah.
Very, very stressful.
And you were in it. So it wasn't just like you were directing it and you hadn't written it. You were in it. So.
Yeah. And it just, we didn't have much money. And we had a lot of material to cover. And we're very ambitious people, So instead of just cutting from the script or like cutting ideas, we're just like, no, let's just do it. Let's see if we can do it. So yeah, it became very stressful after a while. Yeah, but it was also fun. But yeah, at the end of it, I was almost like burnt out, because we also had the delivery of it and just doing the editing. And yeah, it was. How
do you feel about it now?
Now I feel good about it, actually. Yeah. Like I was rewatching it a while back, and some of them, like, not all episodes are great, but some of the episodes are really fun. And we also get like emails from people who are like seeing it. We're like, oh yeah, you guys should do more of that. That was the best stuff you've done.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if I agree about it's the best stuff we've done, but
I mean, it does have Dave in it, so that does limit. That puts a cap on how good it could have been.
But no, it's fun when when people respond to it.
Yeah, you get a heck of a lot more feedback than I ever have, at least from people I don't know. So, I mean, what would be the best thing anybody said, and then what would be the worst thing you heard about it?
Oh, about this show or just our videos?
No. Because I'm very self-centered and I want to know about the one that I was in.
Well, the best thing we got was that, wow, the two Norwegian cops are great. And then the worst was that, oh man, that American cop, he's awful.
Yeah, I think there was a growing sense among the people there that I sucked. No.
People loved you. That's one of the things people say. They think you're great in it. And you are absolutely great in it.
There was something I mean, I've said this. There was a behind the scenes documentary made that I was really very, very cool that someone took the time to do that. And I told the story in that. But for me, one of the biggest challenges was being surrounded by people who speak fluent English, but chose to speak fluent Norwegian. And I knew zero Norwegian. I mean, I didn't even come close to knowing any Norwegian, to the point where you guys were saying the equivalent of action. And I did not know that you guys were calling action.
But you're the professional. You should just be ready.
But I don't know the damn language. So my first day on the set.
Just roll with it.
I did eventually, but my first day on the set, I was like, you guys were paying me to come over and you honored me with this part in this series and you put me up in a nice hotel. And I was like, okay, I really want to make sure I honor the trust they put in me. And I come to the set, and on the first day of shooting, you guys, it was in that hotel room, that really nice hotel room, and I'm standing there and I get a sense of, I've got my lines. I know what I'm supposed to say. I know what I'm supposed to do. And then everybody's kind of standing there and I hear some Norwegian terms and then nothing. And I had no idea what was going on. And as it turned out, somebody had said the equivalent of action, which is what in Norwegian?
Action.
No, it's not. Come on. No. It was something like "Vas is go" or something. That's
maybe.
That's what you guys said all the time. Don't tell me that. Come on.
Vas is go?
Vas is go? I don't know.
Oh, Varsågod.
Varsågod. There you go. Somebody said that. And it sounded like, maybe somebody agreed that it was very good. And so we're ready to go. So I'm just standing there waiting for waiting for action. And nothing happened. And mine was the first line, of course. And I had this entire room of people looking at me going, why did we pay this guy to come over here?
Well, it's the pauses, That's what you need.
That's right. You wanted me to enjoy and engage in the tradition of Norwegian pauses and conversation.
And a good thing about shooting digital is we just cut out the pauses,
Of course, yes.
Right on the line.
Yeah, and actually make me look good through the magic of editing.
Oh, yeah. No, but that's the hard part about acting and directing at the same time. And also, since we didn't have an AD who was who knew the shots and stuff.
Yeah. So
we sort of had to AD, me and Christer had to AD it ourselves. And then it's a lot to keep track of.
Yeah. So, you guys were, but I will say that you were also completely on point with everything. So you may have been stressed out. You may have been going crazy, but I thought you guys handled it amazingly well, especially when two people combine to do something, to share responsibility, because you basically co-directed that, right?
Yeah, we did.
That's really hard to do in any circumstance, much less one where you're playing both sides of the camera. So I thought it was very impressive. It's
good. And we've been doing it for a while, so we sort of know each other's taste. And basically, I'm the biggest drama queen. So I'm the one who gets cranky if I don't get in my way. So that sort of helps. If you just become a bit sulky, then he says, okay. So that's good.
You're the auteur here.
Not the auteur, just the one who's...
Tell people what is Christer's strength? Now, Christer, just to reiterate, he is your partner in Pistolshrimps,
yes,
who helped you start that whole thing, and the two of you star in most of the videos. And suppose what's his? Give us a rundown on Christer.
Well, Christer has a very good attention to detail, basically, and he's very good. Usually, when we make videos, he gets the props and stuff and make sure they're always extremely specific and right, And he also just has a great analytical mind, because usually I, develop more of the shot list, and then we talk about it, and, if there's something that's forgotten, he's on top of that. And, he's a genius at post-production. Absolutely. And the stuff, because basically after a while we found out it was more useful for our YouTube videos if he does more of the effect stuff and then I do the editing for timing and the narrative. And so now he's gotten so good at it that's you can't even tell what's the real movie and what's something he's done, because it's just so seamless.
Wow. What do you think he's going to continue to do outside of Pistolshrimps?
I think he's going to direct. He wants to be a director, and I think he's really good at post-production, but I think eventually he'll move into directing of some sorts. I don't know what, but I definitely think so, because he's super talented, so I figure why not?
And for you had another project that you worked on that got some exposure here, because you had something in the New York Television Festival. What was that project?
Basically, at the end of my first year at Columbia, over the summer, I had to shoot a movie. So I had my friend Jim wrote this zombie apocalypse script. It's a comedy set at the end of the world, where the last boy on Earth and his robot friend, they go out to try to get him laid. But he's 14, and the last female on Earth, she's 25 and doesn't want to sleep with a 14-year-old, of course. And so it's about him trying to seduce her. And we had it play at the New York Television Festival, and it won the development award there with the CW. And so we've been developing it with the CW for the potential of becoming a web series.
That's great. That festival itself has become big deal. I was in something that was in it several years prior, and at the time it was not nearly as focused on as it is now, but a lot of times people go to that and everybody's there. So, I mean, that's a sign of your progression, I would say.
Yeah, the festival was a great experience because basically the screenings are like, okay, you know, they're not the main thing because what it's about is all about connecting you as a creator with people in the industry.
Right.
And that's where they're really good. And they send out all the pilots that make it to the festival. They send out to all the big companies who watch the screeners, and then they set up meetings for you. And so it's a super, super good festival just in terms of connecting you with people in the industry. And
I think it continues to get bigger every year. So, I mean, you definitely have a feather in your cap having gotten that. And you just finished your I guess, is it your final project for the program or?
Well, almost, because I can do 2 thesis projects. I was only going to do one, which I finished right in December. It's like an action adventure for kids about this girl whose imaginary friend gets kidnapped, so she has to go and get him back. But then I got a grant from the Sloan Foundation, if you know the Sloan Foundation.
Wow.
Basically, they give out grants to films that deal with science and technology. And so we got a grant there to do another movie. It's about this college kid, who is on a sports scholarship, but due to an injury, he loses the scholarship. So he decides to hack into the tuition system to delete his bill. So it's like an adventure heist movie. So I'm finishing up that now, and then I'll graduate in May.
Wow. And then what? I mean, are you able to stay, or are you going to have to go back?
I can stay for a year, and then I'll apply for my artist visa, which I hope I'll get. But yeah, right now I don't know what I'm doing. So it's scary.
A little mystery.
Yeah.
You might have to leave the gentle womb of education and go out into the real world, as though you're not actually engaged in doing real world filmmaking anyway.
Precisely.
You're like the Ringer, man.
But it's like when I was in my mid-20s, I decided that I wasn't going to get a comfortable job until I'm 30. Because, you know, if you have a shitty job, you know, when you get home at the end of the day, you're like, I got to do something. I got to get out of this. So, but if you have a comfortable job, you get used to the money. You get to the weekend, you're like, I need to relax. I'll do my project the next week.
Yeah, you have to be hungry.
Yeah, precisely.
You need to stay hungry.
And so I decided that when my 30s, they're coming up. They're coming up this year. So now I got to decide, you know, like, what should I do?
Jeez, I mean, well, first of all, 30 is definitely the new 20. So I think you got plenty of time. Plus, you look like you're 18 perpetually. Well, that is true. Where does that come from?
It's all the fish.
All the fish you guys get?
Yeah. No, I have no idea, actually.
How do people keep in touch with you? How do people follow the? Now, wait, I almost forgot. Part of this podcast is my obsession with people's names. And when your name was first said to me, somebody said Stian. But in Norway, everybody said Stian. So where does your name come from? Like, is that a typical name in Norway?
It's a very typical name in Norway. Not so much anymore, but if you look at like the name rankings, it's huge around the mid 80s.
And it is like Stian. It's not like short for Christian or something.
No, it's its own name.
Stian.
Yep.
And you say, when you introduce yourself, you say
Stian.
Stian. Yeah.
But here, like, they call me Stian. Like, they drag the A. And I was like, that is kind of cool. It sounds a bit French, you know?
Stian.
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 Hey, I'm Stian.
So how do people keep track of and follow the Stian experience?
I don't know. I think I got to change my last name, though, because no one ever gets that right.
Hafstad?
Yeah, it's just... I don't know.
Try Koenig on for size, and then I'll maybe weep for you.
And maybe.
Hafstad is simple, man.
It is, but not in combination with Stian. You know, people see it and they're like, their brain just shuts down.
But it doesn't have like at least it doesn't have that like A with the circle on top or something like that.
O.
What's that?
The O.
I don't know. I don't know. You guys have extra letters, and I never quite understood that.
It's a little handicap we have. We just need more.
Yeah, there was a guy there who I remember. And I'm going to butcher his name, but it was like Bjarte or something.
Oh, Bjarte.
Did I say it okay?
Yeah.
Okay, because he wouldn't introduce himself as that to me because he thought I would just never ever understand the word. So,
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, what he called himself? Oh man, because I get so used to seeing him on Facebook now, but he introduced himself as a different name, and I it was really funny to me.
Oh wow.
He's like, forget my real name. You're just gonna call me. You're just gonna call me Steve. You know. So that was my Norwegian experience. A fantastic experience, but the language barrier was intense.
I can imagine.
All right. So how do people find you online? How do people follow you? How do people get in touch with you? How do people become a fan?
Well, usually the good thing about me is that all my handles are my name at first name, last name at, twitter.com, at Facebook, at Gmail, and also stianhafstad.com.
And the Pistol Shrimp stuff?
That is just youtube.com/Pistolshrimps.
And you guys don't have pistolshrimps.com, or do you?
We do, but it goes straight to our Facebook because it's, when we do all these videos, it take up so much time that we tried to run a website on the side.
It doesn't,
We just didn't have the time.
It gets exhausting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess people are just going to have to get on the old Facebook page then.
Precisely.
Hey, thanks for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Safe travel back to Norway.
Thank you. I hope we win. Fingers crossed.
We'll keep our fingers crossed. The most amazing Stian Hafstad. Stian. Stihal. Steedog. I don't know. Anyway, he is a wealth of talent and a very, 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 very cool guy. And I'm glad I had a chance to sit down with him. I have loaded up the show notes this week with plenty of examples of his work, including the stuff he's done with Pistolshrimps, as well as the entire playlist of the web series STD Oddfjord. Again, if you want to keep in touch with him, you can go to @Pistolshrimps on Twitter. You can go to facebook.com/Pistolshrimps. Probably the best thing you could do is just go to YouTube and look up the Pistolshrimps channel, facebook.com/Pistolshrimps. And if you want to follow him personally, it's Stian Hafstad, StianHafstad, on all the various social networks out there. Good luck to you, my friend, as you head back to Norway and conquer the Norwegian YouTube Awards. And I look forward to working with you each and every time that fate allows me to do so. That about does it for another edition of Bring Your Own Lunch. Glad you could join us. Thank you. Got to thank Banuba, banuba.net, BANOOBA. Find out where the music from this program comes from that you're listening to right now. They're awesome. And of course, go to our website, Bring Your Own Lunch, to find out all the information about the guests on this show, past, present, and presumably future. Send me a personal email, dave@bringyourownlunch.com. Please, find us on Facebook and like us, facebook.com/bringyourownlunch. Follow us on Twitter @BYOL Podcast. Don't forget about Thanks for Following Friday. If you follow us this week and you haven't already, we will thank you on Friday. Instagram, Bring Your Own Lunch. And please, go to iTunes or Stitcher, rate, review, subscribe, share the love, tell a friend, get people into this thing, because it's fun, and I'd like for more people to be on board. There's no shortage of seats on the BYOL train. I have no idea what that means. Stay tuned for Jimmy Jack's Cowpunch Hour, followed by Mansoor and the Fish. And until next week, when I have another great guest lined up, this is Dave. I'll see you next Tuesday. Good for Annie Lennox.